Well, to another quickly developing story that we are following tonight. Hurricane Beryl has weakened slightly to a Category 4, but it remains very dangerous. The storm is expected to make landfall in Jamaica on Wednesday afternoon. Hurricane Beryl could bring life-threatening winds at speeds of up to 265 kilometers per hour. It could also cause a path of destruction in Haiti and the Dominican Republic. Now, yesterday, the hurricane tore through St. Vincent and Grenada. It flattened many of the homes in its path and left thousands without power and killed at least 4 people. Science and climate specialist Darius Mahdavi is keeping a close eye on Beryl's track. He joins us now from Vancouver. So Darius, can you map out where Beryl is headed and give us a timeline?
Yes, so it's moving very quickly, Travis, and so it's important to keep track of this. Now, I think it's important to see where it's been before we look at where it's going. So take a look here. You can see exactly how the storm has developed very quickly over the last couple of days. Just a Category 1 storm not too long ago, but then quickly developed into a Category 4, and then quickly beyond that into a Category 5. Now, that means winds in excess of 260 kilometers per hour. So as a Category 4 storm, it passed over parts of the Grenadines, causing some real damage, many injuries reported, as well as major structural damage there. And now Category 5, fortunately, no landfall made while it's a Category 5. It's now come back down to a Category 4, but I really want to emphasize coming down is mitigated good news in this case. It's very limited good news because we're talking very, very strong winds still. Now, if we zoom in on where this storm is expected to be going next, first thing I want to point out is some of these warnings here. So we have a hurricane warning blanketing the coastal regions of Jamaica, also some tropical storm warnings in place, and some hurricane watches. So places to be keeping an eye on in the days ahead. I also want to emphasize, as this goes along and we continue to see that the storm cone that you see here, that is not showing you where we're expecting to see impacts. That's showing you the probability of where the storm could be expected to go. So the impacts will be very widely felt even outside of that cone. Close areas like Jamaica getting hit with hurricane force winds, but even outside of that, very damaging tropical storm force winds. So definitely a wide impact being felt.
Certainly. Okay. And Darius, Beryl is already making history. What are some of the records that the storm has set?
Yeah, there's been quite a number, Travis. So this was the earliest Category 4 storm ever recorded when it first became that at the end of June. So only storm in June ever recorded as Category 4. Now it's only the second Category 5 storm ever recorded in July and the earliest Category 5 storm. The previous one was in way back in 2005. That was Hurricane Emily, and that was mid-July, July 16th. So even then, much later. And that was during the record-breaking 2005 season, where we also saw Hurricane Katrina. So we are shaping up to see exactly what we were predicting with this really intense hurricane season. Now, just take a look here. I just want to emphasize how quickly the storm developed, because this rapid intensification that we're seeing more and more of is one of the big dangers with these hurricanes. Because as you can see here, going from a Category 1 to a Category 4 hurricane in less than 10 hours, and then going from just a tropical depression to a major hurricane in under 2 days. So that's only happened 6 times before in the entire recorded history of the Atlantic in terms of hurricanes. So just smashing records left and right, and probably indicative of the hurricane season that we have yet to come, Travis. So definitely an exciting start to the hurricane season.
Indeed. Okay, Darius, appreciate that. That is CBC Science and Climate Specialist Darius Mahdavi in Vancouver. Okay, and as you just heard from Darius, that storm is tracking towards Jamaica. Sarah Glashan is tracking the latest developments on the ground in Jamaica tonight. So, Sarah, where do things stand right now?
Well, Travis, the message right now from the National Hurricane Center is, to quote, expect devastating hurricane force winds, life-threatening storm surge, and damaging waves. And that applies to Cayman Islands as well as Jamaica. And for the latter, specifically Jamaica, heavy rainfall and, again, life-threatening flash flooding is expected. The words life-threatening being used throughout what they're calling the key messages for Hurricane Beryl. This is expected to take place throughout Wednesday into Wednesday night. Right now, it's the night before. It is literally the calm before the storm, 7 p.m. on the ground in Jamaica. And so as far as precautions go, people are stocking up. They are preparing to hunker down in their homes. But as well, two of Jamaica's main airports are announcing that they will be closing later tonight. And the main airport, the largest of the two, Sangster International in Montego Bay, is going to be closed throughout the day. It's a precaution. It is temporary. They need to assess the kind of damage and then reopen when it is safe to do so. A few hours ago, our colleagues spoke with the mayor of Montego Bay. Jamaica has a long history of dealing with hurricanes and strong winds that have hit through decades past. But they talked about just the precautions that are necessary, the unpredictability when it comes to hurricanes like this one and what their worries are. But take a listen.
Of course, it is unpredictable. But the major one that we had in 1989, which is Hurricane Gilbert, that was a Category 3, and it went right across the island, and it was devastating. So even at Category 4, we are still under serious threat, and we are not taking anything lightly. So we are putting in all the necessary contingencies in place so that we can reduce the impact associated with the weather system.
When you look at the national hurricane forecast maps, you can see that clearly Jamaica is really smack dab in the direct path of this hurricane. But you heard Darius there talk about the effects being widely felt. And Haiti, it's a real concern that the outer bands of this strong wind is going to affect very strongly areas that have less infrastructure, less protection, Haiti being certainly among them. The worry there for the heavy rains, the storm surge, and as well potential for landslides. So we have to really pay attention to the entire area. It is not just Jamaica, though Jamaica, Cayman Islands, they really are in the direct path of this.
Yeah, and let's talk a little bit more of that because it is going through kind of the center there of the southern Caribbean. What do we know, Sarah, about the damage caused in other areas that Beryl has already torn through?
Right, and Darius talked about this, where it has already come through. And remember, it went from a tropical storm on Friday. It was Category 4 by Sunday. So this happening very fast. Not to the wind obviously very fast, but this all developing very quickly as well. And what we have heard from the Prime Minister of Grenada, which is a series of small islands, is that the small island of Carriacou bore the brunt, flattened, he says, in a half an hour period of time. Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines is saying that the island of St. Vincent, some 90% of the homes there have been damaged. As well, we know there are reports of damage to Barbados. But in terms of death toll, and this is, right now it's as early days to be talking about this, but the estimates are putting it at 6 right now. And 2 of those deaths are Venezuela. Venezuela being affected again by the outer bands of this storm, but those bands, so much rain creating flooding of rivers, 2 deaths and a number of people missing there. So as I say, Travis, maybe early days to talk about exactly what the death toll is here.
Yeah, indeed. The story will develop over the days to come. Sarah, appreciate that. That is CBC's Sarah Galashan. All right, and just to pick up where Sarah left off there, my next guest is concerned because she has not been able to connect with her husband since the storm. Emily Edwards moved from Canada to Carriacou in Grenada with her husband, Dwayne, and her 3 kids last year. She is now in Canada with her kids visiting family for the summer while her husband is still there. Now, yesterday, the Prime Minister of Grenada said the island was, quote, flattened in just a half an hour. You heard from Sarah there, the latest. 95% of roofs and housing are believed to have been damaged. Emily joins us now from her car there, and she's in Belleville. So we'll show you some video before we start chatting with Emily here of a video that her husband, Dwayne, sent her yesterday showing her home before the hurricane hit in full blast. So, Emily, when did you last hear, as we look at this video, from Dwayne? As we can see, that the wind's pretty heavy there.
I last heard really essentially from him at that point. He sent that to me at 9:56, and the last thing I heard back from him was at 10 a.m. And since then, there's been no communication.
How concerned was he at that point in time for the storm coming into the path of Carriacou? And how concerned are you right now for your husband's safety?
Knowing who he is, I know he was scared. He was worried what the right thing to do was. He was very well aware that we were far, far away, and we he had a big responsibility to keep himself safe. He didn't really show how scared he was, but I could tell in his voice. He's a retired Canadian Forces veteran. So as worried as I am right now by the fact that I haven't spoken to him since this happened, I have full faith that he's doing what he has to do right now. And I'm really hopeful that he is leading a charge somewhere. And we just got really good news. I haven't heard from him, but we did see a drone video that our house is standing and our roof is intact. So I have a huge, huge hope that he's just sitting inside of it, waiting to be able to talk to us.
Yeah, we hope so as well, and we know communication tough after any kind of storm like this. How have you been talking to the kids about it, or have you told them what's going on? I know the kids are different ages, 12, 8, and 5.
Yesterday, I did my best to not say anything. I didn't tell them about the lead up or that we were anticipating something was coming. And then once I knew again, as much as I knew that it had passed over, I still just tried not to tell them. My middle kid knew something was up and kept asking me all day, "Well, are you okay? Are you okay?" But as of today, I let them know that there was a very big storm. I didn't let them know at the time how worried I was about, their dad's safety. I tried to tell them that we couldn't talk to him because the cell phone towers are down and nobody can talk to their loved ones. So I've really tried to emphasize kind of those barriers rather than focusing on the worst.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about why you decided to move down to Carriacou. This is an island that I hadn't heard of. It's part of Grenada, but it looks like it's quite a beautiful place. Tell me a little bit about why you want to take your family there.
A very kind of long, convoluted story short. My husband's family is from the mainland island of Grenada. And we always talked about kind of running away to the islands and selling all our stuff and giving up on, the regular world. After my husband released from the military in 2016 with an operational stress injury, we did the normal thing here in Canada. I'm an RN. I had some brilliant, incredible jobs. And then the pandemic hit. I kept going to work. He was home with our kids, and it really, really made us realize that all of the reasons that we thought we couldn't go on our adventures, we could. We were healthy enough. Our kids were healthy. So we decided that was, again, we didn't move during the pandemic itself, but we started to make some really, really serious decisions about moving our family to Grenada. And we found a property in Carriacou that was all right on the water, a beautiful view of Petite Martinique and Petite St. Vincent, I should say. And we just decided to go for it. We have family here. We have significant ties here, but we knew we wanted to give it a go. And now that we've spent over a year there, we're starting to build a life. And I can tell you, I didn't know much about it before, but it is a beautiful place. It's paradise, like absolute paradise in terms of what it looks like and the weather and all of that. Again, aside from the obvious right now. Yeah. But the people are incredible. I don't think I've ever met people who were kinder. Their outlook on life, the way they take care of themselves and their families and each other and their home, their land, the fish, the ocean. We got there and we realized that we really lucked out. And
Emily, you're still there? I think Emily's connection's frozen here. All right. Well, that was Emily Edwards, who lives in Carriacou, an island damaged by Hurricane Beryl. She is in Belleville right now, but her husband, Dwayne, is in Carriacou. Canada Tonight reached out to Global Affairs this afternoon to ask about potential help to Canadians impacted by the hurricane. We did not hear back in time for air.